to take pleasure in twilight, whose souls are lured by noise to every treacherous abyss.
As night falls, another Austin emerges, almost as though another city exists in an alternate dimension.
Because last night, the weirdest thing happened.
And in that world exists the underbelly of crime, drugs, and terror in the night. In the deep night, there is terror of women being raped, the sexual abuse of small children, gangs and drug kings.
I actually think this whole flap, whatever the Russians may have intended with their hacking, has made it much more...
In my line of work, you got to keep repeating things over and over and over again.
When you hear General Mack,
for the truth to sink in.
The CIA director.
They kind of catapulted the propaganda.
Hardliners on
I have 2 words for you. Predator drones.
I'm going to bomb the shit out of them.
You will never see it coming.
I don't care.
So you understand the words I'm saying to you?
You think I'm joking?
Yeah.
Well, what I'm saying is that there are known knowns and that there are known unknowns. But there's also unknown unknowns. Things we don't know that we don't know.
They are not what they claim to be.
America is now under martial law.
PsiOp Radio.
Decoding the psychological warfare machination within paranormal and parapolitical landscapes. PsiOp Radio.
Welcome aboard, everybody. This is Smiles Lewis.
And this is Mack White.
And this is PsiOp Radio number canonical 232 for this, strange times indeed. What is it, April 9th, 2020. Everything's 2020 vision now, Mac, right?
You know, that's a weird number, 232. I mean, that's like 23 both ways, backwards and forwards. I never realized that.
How are you, my friend?
Doing pretty good. How are you doing down there in Austin?
Pretty good. As bad off as Austin, or rather, as bad off as the United States is right now. It's one of the bigger cities that's okay to be in so far.
Yeah. Well, things are pretty weird up here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, shelter-in-place orders. And, also, are you hearing the feedback that I'm getting?
I am. Do you have the page up or anything anywhere?
Maybe I should. I don't think I do, but let me make sure I don't.
Because that's also, if it is, it's eating up extra bandwidth for... Yeah, I was hearing that.
Okay. Hey, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here. Great, thank you.
Okay. Well, now, isn't that amazing? You know, it's a modern miracle, and it just shows you, For a moment, our show had the coronavirus, in a manner of speaking, not to make light of a terrible thing, but, my God, I never thought that I would live this long to see such a horrible thing, such a pandemic, mainly of fear. That's the thing is, okay, viruses are real, but it's the pandemic of fear and the way fear is being propagated. And I keep wondering, well, who's benefiting from the fear? You see, because I've been through in my life some weird times. The Cuban Missile Crisis, I can well remember that. The whole nuclear, scare at any time, the whole duck and cover atomic, bomb war drills that we would have when I was in grade school. And 9/11 and the Cuban Missile Crisis and so forth. And my God, terrible. pandemics of fear. So I have to wonder about that aspect of it, the psychological aspect of it. I got to tell you, this thing is very hard on people psychologically. It's been hard on me. Me and Diane, everybody is spooked. The herd is spooked.
Well,
and
we ought to be. We ought to be. I mean, you and I are both very suspicious, conspiratorial, paranoid people, and we obviously, like so many, are going. Is this a legit natural developed virus, or is this some kind of militarized, weaponized, ethnic cleansing weapon, or what? What the fuck? I mean, in some ways, granted, it doesn't matter because it's all in the response. Is what people, humans, militaries, governments, corporations can all take advantage of through fear, as you say. But from all reports, there's a lot to be afraid of here. I know other people try to diminish the dangers by focusing on, it's, so many people die every year from these kinds of things.
Yeah.
But the virulence of this particular virus and flu or whatever, however you want to categorize it, it seems really, really worse. I mean, thank goodness it doesn't appear to actually be airborne in the worst, most prolific sense, though some of the weird simulations I'm seeing online of coughs in aisles on grocery stores, the simulation of the corona cloud is just off the charts scary. But yeah, I think as the Obama's Chicago friend Rahm Emanuel was so often quoted as having said, "Never let a good emergency or disaster go to waste."
Oh yeah. I mean, someone's going to make some money off of this, and so the whole thing is, it's the age-old question. Qui bono, as the Latin term was, who benefits?
Yeah.
And we'll look around and we'll see. And there are, many suspects at the moment. I'm no expert at all. But I know that when fear is promoted to this level, and the thing is, in any big national emergency thing crisis that I ever went through in my life, it was never global like this. I mean, if you were intelligent, you would think, well, we have a global problem. But in terms of, something, a real-time event that is happening all over the world, except in certain places.
Yeah, but this is one of the things I really wanted to mention. Is, so many people are saying, we're living through our Pearl Harbor, our 9/11, our JFK assassination. But but as you say, this is global, and it is. There's a quote I've seen floating around about this is the most singular moment for humanity ever, as far as we know. Where a higher percentage of the population across the globe are aware of this, are participating, or at least know about the mass participation or non-participation, as the case actually is supposed to be. But yeah, I hope you and your loved ones are holding up, because I know this is tough. Beyond just dealing with the actual virus, obviously this is
a human catastrophe. And I'll tell you what, speaking of quotes from, important people, this one from Henry Kissinger, who wrote a piece for the Wall Street Journal in which he described how this crisis will help to alter the world order. Now, those were his words. That's not a conspiracy theory. So I have to wonder, again, I'm just, not naming the criminal, but pointing out the possible suspects. Who's benefiting from this? Where have I heard that before? World order. Oh, yeah. Well, now we're hearing Henry Kissinger saying it openly. And this is the architect of the monstrosity of the Southeast Asian wars, just of the horror, this horrible Holocaust. And this is, and he's still alive. That's what gets me. How old is he? He's got to be nearly 100.
Yeah, and he's certainly no saint. I can't believe he's eluded his trip to hell so long.
He's prolonged it, but eventually that they David Rockefeller, et cetera. They all finally have to pass away. Thank God.
Here's that quote. It isn't the end of the world. It is the most remarkable act of global solidarity we may ever witness. Which it's, I don't know, it's kind of interesting way to look at it, I think.
Yeah. Whoa. Okay. Yeah, that's scary because it is global. And we were talking about that earlier. How, it's most of the world that is under these not lockdown. They're careful to differentiate, but in certain areas of the world, it's basically lockdown. My God, I've heard terrible stories. Heard stories that in China, people were being burned alive. That they weren't even dead yet, and there were howlings from the infernos of the crematoriums. My God, just the gruesomeness. This does, sort of recall World War II and World War I, and the human tragedy of it all. And yet, you have to wonder how much of this is theater, how much of this is propaganda. I don't know.
Yeah, as with so many calls from the conspiracy culture over the last few years, the worst elements have immediately dismissed all of this. And as in so many of the smaller, quote unquote, smaller cases of supposed staged mass shootings and whatnot, it's just the ability for some organized group to do it is to me insane and unlikely. And I think, I don't know. So far, I only know one person who believes themselves to have it right now. They're I think on their 22nd day and doing better. Mm-hmm. But I know a friend locally who posted that his uncle, who was, I believe he said 69 and had no known pre-existing health issues, passed away, and it's presumed to have been, I say presumed. I don't know the details. He says it was because of coronavirus. Mm-hmm. And yeah, they've been saying from the get-go that those with compromised immune systems or other like prone to pneumonia type infections and that sort of thing, and asthma. These are all people who are at risk. And also initially they were saying, so much it seemed like an age-related thing, but then again, now, after all this time has passed, we now seem to get this impression that it can strike any age, and even young people with no known pre-existing conditions are being taken out by it, and that is freaking scary.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and it'll be interesting to see what is it, Sweden that's supposedly not having the outbreak levels that everywhere else is, and they haven't imposed the level of mandatory social distancing and shelter-in-place stuff. But I think I was talking to you off air. For me, it was the weekend of I think Friday the 13th, always followed by the worse Saturday the 14th. If you haven't seen that movie, go rent it and watch it. It's great.
Okay.
It's a terribly funny bad B movie called Saturday the 14th. It's hilarious. I posted a trailer for it on my Facebook wall weeks ago. Anyway, yeah, it was like that weekend of the 13th and 14th of March when I was getting set up for my day job to be able to telecommute from my day job, and have more or less been doing it ever since. That following week, went into work a little bit, but was starting to experiment with the working from home. And I got to say, I had been planning to do this for like the last 3+ years, and now I've been forced to, and thank goodness it works for me, and thank goodness I have work. Thank goodness I have a good job that does good in the world. I'm still churning out, with the help of my staff and coworkers, audiobooks for the blind and print disabled for the talk program, and anybody across the country who's in the program can download these materials. So
that is wonderful work, and to be able to keep doing it, and and eventually this crisis is going to pass. I'm pretty sure of that. But somebody's going to make some money off of it.
Fingers crossed, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, there's
it's also
money being made. But yeah, the economy is imploding. So.
And the other thing, the economy is a thing to really worry about. And the other thing is the emotional toll. I know that just about everybody I talk to, man, they're nervous and depressed. Everybody is, and that's a very disturbing thing. I've never seen that before. Again, I remember those, the Cuban Missile Crisis and so forth. But I was a little kid, but also no one took it as seriously as people are taking this, because this is global. And that's the thing, I guess that's the key, maybe, that it's global. If you want to ask Key Bono, who benefits, somebody, wants the world, which is no surprise, and they're not the only ones. There's plenty of, individuals jockeying for position to take over the world. And that's why this feels like kind of like an end game or something among the elites. I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen the reports with video of Bill Gates, and I know that there's some. We published our friend Shane Matthews' Parapolitical Journal article about that, and he I should pull that up if I can find it. But he, did a deep dive as best he could into the lead up to this, and there's actually part of it there, the 201 event, the planned coronavirus pandemic. And this it is really bizarre, but this is where we're getting into, again, 9/11 territory. So war games, drills, tests, exercises. But as we always say, these things go on all the time in increasing numbers in different milieus. But yes, there was this massive coronavirus-based tabletop exercise, and Fauci was there, and all the others were there, and so there's that kind of pre-foreknowledge, pre-exercise drills. Overtones with this, just like 9/11 and so many other covert ops, and then with, of course, now we've got the mainstream news reporting that I almost said the Bush administration, the Rump administration had knowledge back in November, was being warned about this, and again I think those drills and exercises go back to October, so. There's just those similar elements. Then with the fact that it's so dramatically that air travel, international air travel, has been such a strong part of the narrative. There's another resonance, and the symbolism of those collapsing towers on 9/11, those symbols of capitalism come crumbling down, and as I said then, the maelstrom of death's debris. we haven't seen anything as dramatic as that, other than the masses of bodies and the massive death toll, and it constantly, at least with New York, being linked to it. We have now surpassed the number of deaths from 9/11. It's like that's a staple, obviously, and for good reason. So,
but of course, there have been massive death tolls, in the 20th century alone. Nagasaki, Hiroshima, et cetera, it goes on and on, massive, and continuing. And so, suddenly we're worried about death tolls. You mentioned this Event 201 thing, this conference that did happen back in October of 2019. That's just, a few months ago, basically. And it was a simulation of a COVID-19 type pandemic. And you had all of these individuals involved with this simulation. George Soros, the Rockefellers, of course, and the whole idea being that this is would create the false pretext for global taxes and world government and population control, and that's what it's all been about for more than a century. I don't know how long it goes back. How do you control the population? Well, you spook the herd. That's always worked in the past. So anytime that they're trying to scare us, that's when I wonder.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, so much of the PsiOps of fake news is this the muckraking sensationalism of the worst tabloid journalism. That's just like, well, we can, if it bleeds, it leads. We can.
Yeah, right.
Get people to watch just on the salaciousness of our approach.
Yeah.
And that's still a real big problem, but but then you've got the other extreme of that, of our own president demeaning news reporters because they're so negative, because they're asking questions.
Yeah, and that's what they're supposed to do.
Exactly.
So at the same time, there's all this about how much is the media part of the problem, or how much of it is controlled, how much of, you get back into Operation Mockingbird, for instance, the CIA infiltration of the media and the different masters that they might serve. But a thinking person just has to weigh these various news reports, because it was always that way. This is not anything new. You go back to the history of journalism, at the turn of the century, the Hearst, the William Randolph Hearst empire, which was founded on basically propaganda, pro-war propaganda. They've been doing this sort of thing forever. This isn't anything new.
Yeah, and again, we've documented tons of previous human experimentation using chemical warfare agents, biological warfare agents. Sometimes in ways that are justified and understandable as far as being defensively prepared, but so often a matter of being used for nefarious purposes and covert operations and destabilizing of countries and so forth. And I do think this, there are any number of countries, not just ours, that might have been working on this. Obviously the first thought, because this has been pinned on China, is that it's something that escaped from one of their labs, but maybe not, but it sure as hell seems like a real dangerous gambit if you're actually going to infect this large, make a global pandemic. That's where I just have that feeling that there's no freaking way. And as far as what's staged, again, I'm just like, I feel like I have heard from too many people, too many friends who know people. Oh, those are just friend of a friend, folk tales, stories. But I believe them, and I think that that does count as evidence in my book that this is really happening. But at the same time, there's huge swaths that aren't being affected, but yet, look at that map, Mack.
That's one scary map, I got to tell you. It's just frightening. What do you think about vaccines? It's been put out there, and I don't know really that much about it, but I am suspicious of vaccines and have been for some time, as is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He's a major anti-vaccine, and a lot of people are. And I don't really know much about that, no authority at all. But there's this thing that's been put out there, this fear, and some of the news stories that I've seen, and I don't know, I've got to take it seriously, that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is supposedly, according to some news stories, really pushing this agenda right now. And that I believe I recall that they supposedly funded the group that owns the patent for the vaccine to what else? COVID-19. Now, I don't know if that's a true story or not, but there's stories like that out there. How much of this, might be related to maybe mandatory vaccines? Because I'm hearing that talked about.
I believe this is what is talked. I think this is covered in our friend's article over there. I closed it already. Or wait, no, it is. Parapoliticaljournal.com. And it is this idea that obviously these systems of control, that these power structures, it's all about control. And yes, they can control people through fear, and that's certainly at play here. But they want to be able to control it all. You need to be able to see it all and calculate it all. And so there's some suggestion that this is all going to be wrapped up with verifiable ID that's tied to your vaccination history. I think they've delayed the implementation. I don't know if this is a Texas state thing, but the whole Real ID Act, driver's license with the star for the, indicating you can travel within the United States. If your driver's license has that star on it, you can. It means you're from a real ID verified state, and you have had your ID verified. Those kinds of incremental things that have been going in over and over and over again, and more ratcheting it up. And this is just the kind of thing that could be used that way. And obviously, I agree that there needs to be some kind of way of verifying who's had it. If this thing is as deadly as it appears to be, that may be necessary. And I'll, everything about this experience is screaming to me, the death of the old world, and the opportunity for some massive collective change, and this is still partly a libertarian battle between self-determination and the good of the whole. And me, Mac. I lean left, and but I'm very keen on civil liberties, especially for the individual. But there's no getting around the issue here of people. If you can be asymptomatic and transmit this, and it is so fucking deadly, then there's really no recourse for the hardcore libertarian to say, where does my fist end and your face begin here? Because by going out and breathing in small spaces, maybe not even all that small, according to some of those digital models I was referring to, there's a real danger here. On the other hand, it is just surreal because, again, I mean, I'm still walking around the neighborhood, walking the dog. We're going to the park. We're driving places. There's still tons of people out and about here in Austin. It is weird. It is like being back in the 70s or 80s here, Mac. That is one of the other pluses is lack of traffic. I can cruise across town in no time at all like I used to back in the day. Oh. But it's horrible to think that that's all on the backs. I mean, that all this potential good is on the backs of so much potential danger and pain and suffering. And it really is a crazy juxtaposition for me that people are so easily and willingly cooperating and staying home when there's really not. We haven't seen martial law yet. We haven't seen, really that the level that Alex Jones and others have taught us to expect. That reminds me of the meme right after he that came out between as the coronavirus was coming on and the news of him being arrested for that DUI. There was a picture of him inside of a car with a paper sign holding up to the window that says, "I have coronavirus," and there's an officer outside the window of the car.
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
Which reminded me that there have been reports here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of people who have loudly announced that they have the coronavirus, and then they'll spit on people. They'll cough on a cop or whatever. I swear to God, that's a whole new phenomenon.
I don't doubt it. I was watching TMZ, and they were showing some footage. I think it was actually here in Texas of somebody at a store that had changed their hours to have a time for seniors was so angered that he started screaming obscenities and licked his hand and then wiped his hand on the door and then I think licked the glass on the door and screamed some more as he wandered off. And it's like, well, nobody was hurt. But yeah,
you don't think.
Yeah. Well, presumably somebody gets there with their squeegee and their little squirt bottle and take care of that.
And hopefully they're wearing a mask. I had my physical exam this month was by telephone, and I don't have a smartphone, so I just got a regular flip phone, and they said that was okay. So we just ran a few my doctor and I ran through a few basic things. I'm actually doing all right. Okay.
Good.
All things considered, I mean, freaked out by this craziness, but who isn't? But I asked him, should I be wearing a mask? Because I'd gone with a friend to the Home Depot a couple of days before, and he said, yeah, you should if you go indoors. He said, if you're just driving, or if you're in your car. And
that's
But if you're going to go indoors someplace, you really. And he said he was wearing his mask indoors, and I believe him. But there you go. So I haven't actually had the opportunity yet to wear my mask indoors. We have a big supply of masks, thankfully, because Diana saw this thing coming months ago, and so we got our mask. And here's the thing, though, that the doctor told me. He said, don't believe what they're telling you about how the mask won't do any good. You can keep re-wearing them and re-wearing them. Now, that's all I know. That's what my doctor said.
Yeah, so we've got some masks. I'm getting a little feedback. That's weird. So yeah, we've got masks, and I wouldn't wear them in the car. But
yeah, what are you, afraid of your car?
So I did wear it into a gas station, one of our corner stores, stocking up on more booze, and got some gas. But yeah, when I went in the store, they had erected, like so many places, like a sneeze guard, basically a plastic shield at the counter. They're wearing masks and gloves, and actually one of the staff was outside disinfecting the self-serve gas pumps. But I went when I went inside, I put it on, and I was really, other than the staff there, I was the only customer. No, that's not true. Another woman and a man came in with them while I was there. And I do see people driving with them on, and I'm kind of like, it just seems ridiculous. Like,
yeah,
but then maybe they're one of those people who is really immunocompromised, and while they shouldn't even be going out, you've got to do what you got to do, and if it makes them feel better, great.
Well, because I got to tell you, this gets back to something that we were saying earlier. It's the emotional toll of this crisis that I'm thinking about, a lot, because I feel it. Everybody feels more nervous, more anxious, more depressed, and so forth. And people are acting out more in public and wherever. And so, that's a disturbing trend. But the thing is that people need to recognize that it's normal to feel this way during a crisis. I mean, think about the people that went through World War II that suffered, not just the ones that went over and fought in not just World War II, but World War I, but the people at home and the difficulties that it caused. People have, been through terrible things like this, and that's why they called it a world war. It was worldwide.
So what about these GOP folk who apparently are either willing to sacrifice Granny or themselves for the good of the economy?
They should do both immediately, without fail. Just to show that they put their money where their mouth is. Yep. Okay. I mean, really, that's completely stupid.
There's so much stupid going around right now.
What we have is a pandemic of stupid.
That's been going on for a while. Yeah. We're in the third or fourth century of that. Actually, it's millennia.
Yeah, this is beyond Philip K. Dick. I got to tell you, I mean, what can you say? But what do you think? There was even a Simpsons episode that predicted that somebody was going to create a virus and kill every bunch of people in order to that was back in the early 90s. Now, what the hell is it with the Simpsons?
Well, Harry Shearer is well versed in conspiracy culture, as evidenced by Teddy Bear's Picnic, which is this spoof he did of that's very funny. It's funny. It's not hilarious, but it's a humorous spoof of Alex Jones going into Bohemian Grove, basically a spoof on that. And he's been interviewed talking about that and made references to people like Alex and Bill Cooper, in terms of like right wing wackos listening to shortwave radio late into the night. I think we've done that together too.
Absolutely.
In a New Mexico hotel room, no less.
You better believe it.
Mac, I haven't had the chance yet to listen to the 17-minute long Bob Dylan JFK assassination anthem. It's gotten big press, and I think it actually was like top of the charts.
It's his first #1 hit, and it is so beautiful. Do you have the ability to play it right now?
I could find it, and then there'd be the YouTube loading and buffering, but I could try.
You don't have to. Yeah, but I see it on the screen. It's amazing being able to sit here and see on my computer screen what's on your computer screen. Talking about that earlier, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to get one of these webcam deals. One more, bit of technology to order and fool with.
Man, I'm trying to find. Yeah, but it's getting pretty good reviews and causing a stir, and it seems kind of strangely timed, but I think people have made the connection to the weird times we're in, kind of being the perfect time for it.
Yeah, they are. There is a connection, I think, and the release, I think, is important. I think he was holding back on releasing this until now. That's the feeling that you get. I gotta wonder. Anyway, nevertheless, true words were never better sung.
Yeah, so I think, I don't know if it's going to play without sputtering and stuttering, but let's see if I can get this to work here. Not going to play the whole thing, and besides, YouTube will shut us down.
Yeah.
Out there in Dallas, November '63, a day that will live on in infamy. President Kennedy was a riding high. Good day to be living and a good day to die. He led to the slaughter like a sacrificial lamb. You say, wait a minute, boys, you know who I am? Of course we do. We know who you are. Then they blew off his head while he was still in the car. Shot down like a dog in broad daylight. Was a matter of timing, and the timing was right. You got unpaid debts. We've come to collect. We're gonna kill you with hatred without any respect. We'll mock you and shout you, and we'll grin in your face. We've already got someone here to take your place. The day they blew out the brains of the king, thousands were watching, no one saw a thing. It happened so quickly, so quick by surprise. Right there in front of everyone.
Well,
that came through beautifully, even though the audio was a little wobbly. That's a beautiful song, isn't it? Finally.
He does he invokes the whole sacrificial lamb bit, and that certainly resonates with a lot of, or a certain brand of conspiracy culture, like the pre-synchronistic, downard King Kill 33 kind of stuff.
There's all that as well. I heard by Facebook message from an old friend from a long time ago, Marcus Huff, great writer and a listener to our show, and a journalist up there in Wyoming, and a Western historian. And he wrote me telling me that he was looking forward to listening to the show. He said it had been a rough week. And I, asked him, what's the situation like in your area? And this is up in 10 Sleep, way up there. Locked down, he replied. No fishing licensings no fishing licenses for out-of-staters. All camping closed. One case of COVID in the local jail. One 10 Sleep resident went to Denver to deliver some cowboy hats, caught it, and died this morning. Weird times.
Wow.
Local ladies are making masks and bread to deliver to old folks. We started a free box on Main Street for people to drop off food and medical supplies. Cattle markets are closed. It's getting downright local. This is up there in a small town in Wyoming. This is my old friend Marcus writing me. Wow.
Well, I hope he's safe and taking care of his and his own. This, as I say, the effects for me, have been largely positive as far as my day job is concerned and my day-to-day life. I get to spend more time here in my lovely home with my lovely wife and my wonderful pets. And, there's been so many times in the last several years where I'd be home sick or home off from work and here in my home at a time of day that I'm normally not. And I normally work in a freaking dungeon, a basement with no windows, and I often never see the light of day during the day.
Yeah.
And so to be able to just be in my own home and enjoy these wonderful things, but at the same time, I am busier than ever, struggling with my nonprofit Anomaly Archives, which is like so many businesses and nonprofits feeling the pinch from this. And I can't go into the details now, but we are about to launch a big fundraising campaign because we have to, like everybody else, we're going to have to start begging for money and trying to up our game, while at the same time it's harder to do that because we have to do everything virtually, and we are making some sacrifices and to make our ends meet. And I'll have more to say about that in the future, but that's where it's hitting me the most. And psychologically, there was this little event that I was organizing to put on back in September 2001.
Yeah.
It got canceled due to a global crisis. And as it turned out, the end of this month, beginning of next month, was going to be the not near as big of an event, but it was in some ways going to be the biggest event I'd done since not doing National UFO Conference in 2001. But it's enough to give a guy a psychological complex. So there's times where all of this weighs on me, and it gets to that point where it's just like, why do I even try? But we're lucky to be suffering such as it is here in these better than average circumstances compared to so many humans on the planet.
Italy, and China, and so forth,
and New York and Los Angeles,
absolutely. There are some hot spots. Yeah, there are some hot spots here. It's scary as hell. At the same time, I read conflicting reports. They say this thing seems to have turned a corner. This is in the local paper here, in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram this morning. I don't know. But I wonder about the human toll. I wonder about the sharp increase of depression and anxiety. I feel it. I wake up anxious. Diane does too. Just from terrible nightmares, just anxious. And this nervous, feeling, and this sad, and a lot of people are feeling that. That is normal. People are having, there's a story that I wish I'd sent the link to you, but I'll just tell you what it was. People are having pandemic nightmares. Not so surprising. One thing that really struck me earlier in the shelter down phase, like a week ago, I don't know when, I'm losing track of the time, but we had to drive to the store to do a curbside pickup, and we go around the corner, and we're going through the neighborhood, and there's this young woman, a nice young woman, like 20s or something, 30, And she's very well dressed, and she's sitting on top of her car, and she's staring at the empty street. And that image, I haven't been able to shake it. The panic, the way people are behaving really weird on Facebook, I've noticed lately. The other thing is that there's an uptick in all sorts of interpersonal, crime and what have you, and we mentioned, maniacs, coughing on a cop and saying, "I've got coronavirus," whatever, but also the rise in domestic abuse, and there's no beds left for people here at in the Dallas-Fort Worth area at Safe Shelter, wives, children who are fleeing. There's no more beds left, and that was the case a week ago. So, the human crisis.
Yeah, and then we hear these crazy reports of local law enforcement choosing certain sirens for the implementation of neighborhood curfews. That it's the siren from that horror movie, The Purge.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I might have a clip of it here, but don't think I can bring it up. That was sort of it. Yeah, it's
Purge siren. Yikes. Ooh.
Yeah, it won't load past that first few seconds. But yeah, so apparently this is an old military siren that was used in the movie The Purge, and
that was horrible.
Owned by Minnie from the movie.
Whoa.
Yeah, so they, the guy, I think the local law enforcement were like, "Oh, I know about that movie, but I've never seen it."
Yeah, that's scary as heck. But I see here, you got it on the screen. Pot use has reached an all-time high in March amid lockdown measures and procedures. But so I hear through the grapevine.
Oh yeah, and meanwhile, here's this article: San Antonio stands firm when Planet K protests non-essential business closure order.
Yeah.
So, for those who aren't familiar, Planet K is what people would call a head shop, a shop that in the past has been a smoke shop, a novelty gift shop, a everything shop. They have posters, pipes, sexual marital aids, all kinds of things. But in recent years, they've started carrying CBD products and other actual convenience store type essentials, and they were forced to close, and their owner, Michael Kleinman, of course, is no stranger to fighting the man, and he was trying to stay open under the pretense of look, why there's no legal there was no court, basically. It was just they just got shut down willy nilly, and here's just some of the products that they were selling to stay open, and flour, sugar, cooking foods, canned goods, peanut butter.
I've been hearing that there are a number of fantastic, and I was making notes. I was talking to someone on the phone, and unfortunately, I don't have my notes handy. But there is a form of CBD oil that can be taken that doesn't have the psychoactive effects of marijuana, but it has the body feeling this was described to me, that this, good, euphoric sense of well-being in the body, and that this has made all the difference to this person. And this person is unable to use, marijuana, but is able to use this CBD oil. And again, I wish I had the name of it, but people can investigate this on their own. And it actually does what he said was always looking for in marijuana, but he had to, kind of get past this psychoactive part of it. This sense of well-being and a greater sense of health.
That's good to have. Well, Mack, we're getting into the last 5 minutes here. There, of course, are a ton of news links that our listeners can go read up on over at PsiOpRadio.com. We'll link you to our WordPress blog, which will also link you to our Flipboard account, where we've got thousands of articles. And, of course, now it's all coronavirus all the time, practically. There's a couple of UFO thrown in there. God, I wish I could find one of the UFO stories here, but
the JFK song of Bob Dylan is somewhere on there. Yep. There is so much. Murder Most Foul, fantastic. But there, right now the big news that's all there is in the morning paper. I got to tell you, here in Fort Worth, when I go out and pick up the Fort Worth Star Telegram, it's just like it's the Fort Worth Star Coronagram.
Oh, yeah. And meanwhile, my dad in Bandera up at Medina Lake, just outside San Antonio, he's been keeping me appraised of the fact that they've declared, I think, in a state of emergency for the county, got their first coronavirus case, and it appeared likely that I think that I haven't seen the details, but that the person had gotten it probably from traveling to a larger Texas city. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that my dad had been describing was how he wasn't panic buying. He's always months stocked up. It's just it's a family tradition.
Yeah.
And he went someplace to get some stuff, and sure enough, it was overrun, and it wasn't even. But it was on the outskirts of San Antonio, just like they are up in Bandera and Medina, and so it was really busy. So he ended up just decided to go back to a place closer to his home, and stopped in, and there was hardly anybody there. And then as he was leaving, the car started rolling in, and it was basically all the locals have been reporting how all of their local stores now are getting bought out, not by the locals panic buying, but the people from the big nearby cities like San Antonio. And apparently when San Antonio was under a shelter-in-place order, there's a lot of RV parks out in this area I'm describing, out near Bandera, Medina, where, normally people like to go and get away for the weekend or whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the RV park people are like, hell no, you're not even supposed to be traveling from San Antonio. You're going to come pull up out here. Well, thanks for coming.
Wow.
But, you're not, you haven't taken the spirit to heart. the shelter-in-place spirit.
Oh, my God. Madness. Whew. People trying to flee the cities. I hadn't heard that story about San Antonio. I'd been reading that a couple of days ago about people fleeing New York City. That in Rhode Island, where these people were fleeing to, the cops were hunting for Rhode Island people. Excuse me, New Yorkers in Rhode Island.
Right. Yeah.
And so, whoa. That's the type of madness that we're talking about. We've never seen anything like this in my lifetime. I'll tell you that for sure.
It's strange, and one of the articles we got here, Vulcan Video closes apparently permanently. They've been struggling. This is a video store?
Oh.
What's that, Mack?
I remember those.
Those are a really great, wonderful thing, and
that was the last great one.
And they were actually surviving, and actually they were still open for a while and doing curbside service like so many businesses now. But one of the things that really worries me, Mack, as we close out the show here is what the disaster capitalism that's going to follow in the wake of this, just like it happened in New Orleans and other places after Katrina and whatnot, where so many businesses are going to go under. And apparently the SBA, Small Business Association Administration, whatever it is trying to roll out all these bailouts, but as often is the case with bureaucracies, it may or may not be a total clusterfuck. But what really worries me is the new landscape that is going to emerge from those big corporations who always get bailed out, who then are going to gobble up all these businesses, all this land, all these places. And it's a weird, spooky thing right now, like 6th Street in downtown Austin boarded up, man. Yeah. And it's crazy. Mack, any final thoughts before we close out the show?
What you're talking about here is the New Order that Henry Kissinger himself wrote in this op-ed piece in the Wall Street Journal, the New Order. Well, it could go either way at this point. And I wish I were in the know. I wish I knew, could understand all the things that I see happening around us, but I don't. I know, though, that change is coming. What kind of change? I don't know. And we can only pray that it will be good change.
Well, I hope you and yours will stay safe, and everybody, all our listeners, will do the same, and we will make it through this with each other's help and with our friends and family by our side. So hopefully we'll have good news soon, and this won't be just our ongoing pandemic weekly show for the next 6 to 9 months.
Which, I've got a feeling that it's the pandemic will end. How it will end, I don't know. But I'll tell you this. I have a feeling that human beings are going to make it. And I just, trust in that. And I know that everybody out there, you included, Smiles, Carolyn, stay healthy. Wear your mask. If you have to go indoors, you don't have to wear it inside your car. And, do the normal things. And if you look at the numbers, my God, you talk about pandemics. Consider the number of murders per year in this country alone. The number of all kinds of madness, car accidents, homicides, et cetera, other diseases. You know what? This isn't even a pandemic by comparison. And so you got to wonder, you got to question, qui bono, who benefits in the long run? And I'm not just throwing conspiracy theories out there because I don't know. But I wonder, who benefits?
All right, folks. Well, thank you, Mack, for joining us. Thank you, all the listeners, and for the feedback there. And we'll be back soon, and we'll be here for a long time, right, Mack?
That's right.
Night, everybody.
Good night.
Who take pleasure in twilight, whose souls are lured by noise to every treacherous abyss.
As night falls, another Austin emerges, almost as though another city exists in an alternate dimension.
Because last night, the weirdest thing happened.
And in that world exists the underbelly of crime, drugs, and terror in the night. In the deep night, there is terror of women being raped, the sexual abuse of small children, gangs and drug kings.
I actually think this whole flap, whatever the Russians may have intended with their hacking, has made it much more.
In my line of work, you got to keep repeating things over and over and over again.
When you hear General Mack
for the truth to sink in.
The CIA director.
The kind of catapult of propaganda.
Hardliners on Russia.
14-foot cobra with 9-inch fangs, firing lasers out of the size of 17 gun zones and shooting flying saucers.
I have 2 words for you. Predator drones.
I'm going to bomb the shit out of them.
You will never see it coming.
I don't care. So you understand the words I'm saying to you?
You think I'm joking?
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is that there are known knowns and that there are known unknowns. But there's also unknown unknowns. Things we don't know that we don't know.
They are not what they claim to be.
America is now under martial law.
PsiOp Radio.
Decoding psychological warfare machinations within paranormal and parapolitical landscapes. PsiOp Radio.